Good evening, everybody. I should say good evening here from Toronto. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you guys are in the world. My name is Zach. I am one of the product specialists here at Club Runner. I've got with me my lovely co-host, Robin. He's one of our newer team members, and he's going to be helping me hold down the fort with Q&A. Oh, I think you might still be muted, Robin.
Oh gosh, that's embarrassing. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that.
Awesome. We got all our audio and video problems fixed now. So today in our webinar, I see everybody is still continuing to come in. I'm going to go ahead and jump into things, hopefully, right away here. We're going to go ahead and get moving. This is the Advanced Membership and Management and RI Integration webinar. We're going to be going over a few of the basics, covering the member profile, some navigation, and we're also going to be taking a little bit deeper dive into more of the items related to Rotary International integration, storing custom data in Club Runner, privacy, and integration tools. There's a whole bunch of great stuff here. Let me switch over to our topics to be covered. So we have our membership management and club information, which we're going to be starting with. We'll also be talking about custom membership types and custom fields and what Club Runner is able to support. An overview and a setup of the Rotary International integration service that's available for our clubs, and our integration and privacy tools. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started and head right in here. I am just clicking and doing a couple things. All right, we are all good to go here. So hopefully you guys can now see my administrative dashboard. We're in our demo club for the purposes of this webinar. We actually have two demo clubs for the purposes of this webinar. Right now we're looking at our Rotary Club of Kipling, which is an account that we have in our production system. Everything here works just like it would for your guys' club, with the exception of Rotary International integration. Rotary International integration is only available to actual Rotary clubs, which this Rotary Club of Kipling is not. It is a club for our demo. So to show off some of our Rotary International integration stuff, I will be switching to our development environment. And I just want to caution some people, there might be some things that are a little bit more rough over there, or you might see some things that aren't normal for your regular site, but I assure you it's all just either things coming or going in our development system. And occasionally it can be a little slow, but it is development. It's a special environment that we have for these websites and for testing purposes. And sometimes things can just be slow. So I just wanted to preference you or give you guys a heads up about that, but you should not be seeing any of that slowness on your own club websites or accounts. So for any reason, if you do, make sure you let us know. A couple quick notes before I dive in here, and I apologize. There is both a chat and a Q&A button somewhere in your Zoom controls. I would very much appreciate if you guys can keep any questions you would like our team to answer for you guys in the Q&A box. Obviously, you are free to chat amongst yourself in the chat box. If you do ask our team questions in the chat box, we will do our best to get back to you. But if you put those questions into the Q&A box, Robin is going to be doing his best to monitor all of those as well. And some of the questions we'll be able to talk about at the end of our webinar. So for any reason, if you guys, any really good Q&A stuff, make sure you toss it into the Q&A box. And otherwise, the chat is also there. Robin? Oh, you're muted, sir.
I'm so sorry. It's my headset. Sue Ricketts actually asked just before we start if you could zoom in a bit more.
I will see what I can do. I'm actually at 10% zoom here, which is not a ton, but if I zoom in too much more, everything kind of starts breaking. That's its own thing, but I will do my best to be slow, methodical, and intentioned with all of my movements and everything else going on. So let's
sorry, one more thing. Tina Pruitt mentions that chat is actually disabled.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how to fix that right now, so I'm going to apologize to everybody. Attendees can chat with. There it is. Okay, I found that control. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me. And Robin, thank you so much for telling me both of those things before I careened right into our webinar. So I think everyone should be able to manage that now. So I am going to dive into our webinar. So we are logged into our club account. We are logged in as a site administrator. Site administrators, for club context, are in full control of their account. There's really nothing they can't do. If something is if the system is stopping you from doing something as a site administrator, There's probably a really good chance you can't do it at all. If you ever run into something like that, just as a general note that you don't know how to do something with Club Runner, or you're an administrator, you think you should be able to do something, reach out to our team. Members like myself and Robin, we're going to be the people answering those questions for you. So I really want to reassure you on, contact the support. So this is our site administrator dashboard. As an administrator, you can also get to your other dashboards to see what the other levels of your club can use. So site administrator is level 30. Administrators can see this. We also have an executive dashboard for the level 50 and level 40 access roles. We also have an editor dashboard for the level 60 role, and we have a member dashboard for regular members. So the next time your member goes, hey, I don't know where to go, can you show me how to do that? Just remember, you, even as an administrator, can come and look at the member dashboard and see all the things that they have access to and point them in all the right places that they need to go and do. As that, take a look. We also advertise our Club Runner mobile app, which is a great living on the go directory for your members, but it is there on this page. And as you move up in access, the page continues to change and open up more resources. So for editors who are primarily concerned with the website and other content like bulletins, their dashboard focuses on those things very specifically. Whereas as soon as we get up to an administrator type role with our club executives, you'll start to see more things like membership, attendance, access to the organization and reports, our integration services, and of course, as our permissions are progressive, so as you go up, you continue to get more and more access. So returning to our site administrator dashboard here, I'm going to scroll down the page here, and we are going to very specifically pay attention to this club and membership management and basically these 4 blocks on our dashboard here. So I will zoom in just a little bit more. Hopefully we highlight those a little bit better. So you have 4 big blocks for your membership and club information management. You have your membership tab, which has all of our really useful things like the active members list, the inactive members list, other users and contacts. We also have access to our designation system. There's a really nice feature to say, hey, I want everybody to come and look at your membership information and update it. We have our new member program. We have custom fields, which we're going to be talking about in just a minute. This lets you capture extra information for your members and your profiles, and you can export all that information. Additionally, we have the organization section, things like your club's information, which we're going to be talking about in just a minute here, your club's executives and directors, any of your club committees and your documents. And we also have other modules to dive into, like our dues and billing module, updating the club privacy policy, club meeting responsibilities and participation points. That's for all of our reports and tracking. And then we do have our big reports like our club dashboard, our eDirectory reports, way to build eDirectory reports, login activity, members who meet the rule of 85, how long members have been a member, like their years of service in the organization and a Rotary, birthday and anniversary report, gender and age distribution, and a really nice feature that is kind of hidden and people don't talk about too much, but it is the printable mailing list. It's really fantastic if you need to mail letters to everybody in your club, because it will give you it'll give you a printout on a nice little Avery label. Lastly, we have our RI integration section. This handles all of our Rotary International integration. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is not a real Rotary club, so I can't show you too much of the integration here, but we will be switching over to our other account to show off some of those new features. Let's head over to our list of active members. So I got there by scrolling up and clicking on the club and membership management sections, active member list, but you can also make it here anywhere else in the application by using the membership tab and then member lists. On the list of members, we can see a lot of really nice things here. We get a listing of our members, 25 members at a time. And in this very specific case, we only have 22 members in our club, so we can see all of the members. By default, members are sorted alphabetically by last name, and they're displayed with their last name first as well. So it's pretty easy to follow it down. If you do want to swap it, you can click this checkbox, though you do have to sort by some other value to get the list to update. Let's talk about some of the iconography and things that you can observe on this page. This email icon here indicates that the member does have an actual email address, and clicking on it will launch my email client, or if it's configured on my device. Clicking on the member's name will take us directly into the member profile, where we can take a full list of a lot of the settings. Over here, we can see the type column. This tells us our type of membership, whether that's a standard active member, a custom active membership type, or Club Runner's default custom active membership types like active corporate. For some clarification, and I'll be repeating this later, the active corporate membership type, when in conjunction with the integration services, is just reported as an active member to Rotary. All active membership types are just active at Rotary. But again, we'll come in, we'll reinforce that later. We have the access column. This is a quick glance at your members' access levels. And I just want to make a really big reinforcement. I know everybody here, or at least most everybody here, is watching for the club context, but I do want to tell you guys, if you go to your district's website, your club access levels do not work there. The district permissions take over, and the club permissions, for the most part, go away. So these club access levels are only when you're using your club's website and you're logged into it and actually in the members area and taking advantage of things. Moving along, we have 2 action items. Change status. This lets you terminate a member, change their membership type, edit their active membership type if they are someone like you want to make them an active corporate member, or you can terminate them or make them an honorary member. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Add New Member page, and then we'll come back and take a look at the Transfer New Member page. Now, again, I want to reinforce this club does not currently have integration options available to it because it is not eligible. But if it was, when we make any of these changes, they will go up to Rotary International. So looking here on the new member screen, we can see that we have options for membership type. We can add a new active or honorary member. And if we have any custom membership types, they will also show up here. In this case, this club just has the standard custom membership types of active satellite and active corporate. Of course, clubs can have their own custom active types. If the member has a sponsor, we make all of the members that are in the club available to you. This is to ensure that when we link the member to the Rotary International information, that it goes through directly. Now, for some reason, if your sponsor isn't, if the person who you want to note that sponsored this member isn't eligible for the Rotary connection, you can still add that after you've added the member, but you do have to do it after. Otherwise, you do have to select someone from the list, but after the member is added, that is a free form field and you can populate it manually. If you know the member's Rotary ID, putting it into this box will improve the chances of the change being successful. We have our date join club, which is required. We have some options to either report or not report this change to Rotary International. The only real typical reasons that you would not report this change to Rotary is either because you're doing something in prep, again, like you're adding a new member ahead of time, which Rotary doesn't currently allow, or maybe you're repeating a change that already happened at Rotary and you're just trying to get everything back in sync in Club Runner. We do have some tools to help with that, but occasionally clubs want to go through and do it manually. There are some advantages like sending the first time welcome member password here. Scrolling down the page, we have basic things like member's title, their first name, middle name and last name, their suffix. Just as a FYI, this is their personal title, so Mr., Dr., Honorable, etc. It's not for their professional title. But again, we have first name, middle name, last name, suffix, email, and gender. Gender supports our binary options. In addition to, you can now prefer not to identify, or if you identify in some other way, selecting that option will let you set your preferred gender identity. We collect a first-time address, either home or work, and all of their information there, in addition to the Club Runner account login details. Now, if I filled all of this out and I hit add, it would directly add a brand new member. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to pick from my list of previously completed names here. We'll go with Jimmy Allen. We don't need to give him an email address because that's not required. We can keep coming down. I will use some pre-filled information here, and I'll just go ahead and complete this member. Now, to show off a nice feature of the Rotary International integration, which this will not do because this club is this account is not. Oh, something really weird happened there. I don't know what happened, but we definitely got the member added and it went through. That was pretty odd. I haven't seen that in a little while, but apologies. I don't mean to be scrolling that hard. So Jimmy was added into the club. You can see we still have a whole bunch of information that we can still add into the profile. Let's go ahead and take a look at that transfer member search just a little bit more. So transfer member search is one of the fantastic features that is offered through a Rotary International integration. If you know the member's Rotary ID, if you know the member's email address, or failing that, you only know their name and country, you can probably find them at Rotary International and help transfer a member. So I have a member that was already prepared, and I already know all of his details, but I want to show you guys how we can find them. So to get to this screen, very quickly, I'm going to switch back to our Kipling Club. So to get to this screen on your own account, you are clicking the membership tab between contacts and organization, and then you are clicking on member lists, and then you are clicking on transfer new member. But you guys are going to see I can't use the transfer member search here because this club is not eligible because it's not a real Rotary club. So let me come back to my prepared transfer search here. So first things first, we are going to try searching by Rotary ID. Now, this is the individual who I've set up for this demo, and I know that by searching for their Rotary ID, it will search at Rotary International. It may take a minute, but then it will return the member record. So we can see that Robert Newhart here, this is his Rotary ID, so this is a direct match. We can see that his current location and his name, and we can see his past club associations, and this is the Mississauga-Dixie Club here in Rotary District 7080. So, but if I didn't know his Rotary ID, obviously if I know his Rotary ID, that is fantastic because this is the most strong correlation that you can have with the member, or one of the most strong correlations. But if I didn't have his Rotary ID, but I did have Bob's email address here, I can punch his email address in here and do a search. And just like the Rotary ID, the email address should also let me find Robert here. As a benefit, because I am searching with his email address, when I go over to the add member page, it will also carry this over. Now, just for clarification, it only is able to add the member's email address if we already know it. So failing that we weren't able to locate someone by their Rotary ID or their email address, we can still try a name search. So we can try and search for Robert Newhart here and see if we can locate him. Once again, we were able to locate Robert because, well, in this case, I knew what I was looking for. But we've had lots of success with different clubs and districts using our new transfer search. These same features are available to you, or a similar style of features available to you from My Rotary. This is really to really help you guys find those Rotary IDs and make sure that you reduce any chances of integration issues. So let's continue adding this member. So I did go back to the email search because I know Bob's email. I've used it to search for him. I've located that same profile. I'm going to go ahead and hit add member. What this will do is it takes all the information that Club Runner currently has available to it that Rotary has provided us with and is pre-populated into the form. Now, for any of the values that we have pre-populated, we have also restricted access to those. So you can still see his member number here, but I cannot click into this field and put any additional characters, letters, numbers, or anything else. And it's the same with any of the fields that we know would potentially cause a problem with the integration services. For matches, adding members, terminating members, most updates, the Rotary member number and the last name have to match 100%. And in some cases, the Rotary's member number, first and last name all have to match 100%. And for those reasons, that is why we are restricting access to changing the member number or changing the name. Once the member record is in the club, you're free to do that because now we have a connection to Rotary. This member is associated with your organization and you're free to make more changes to them. But until they've joined the club, we can't do that. So I am going to go ahead and set Robert's gender here to prefer not to identify. We'll use that same address here, though that is definitely not an American postal code, but this will still let us add the member. Now, let's say that you don't know any of Bob's information, and maybe you even forgot to go do the transfer member search before doing that, when adding a member with a Rotary International integrated account, we will also do a search to check at Rotary to see, are there any members that match based on the name or email address you provided us? In those cases, you always have an option to note, I just want to add this as a new member. It doesn't match anybody, but it does really, really help to make sure that the integration service is able to find things, match things, and import members more smoothly. All right, moving back to our club account, let's take a look at our Rotary Club of Kipling account. Let's take a look at the club information and settings. So from the membership page, I can click on the admin tab, and on the gray bar below it, I can click the club info and settings. If I was on the administrative dashboard, this same club info and settings link is also there. And hopefully it doesn't take me too long to get back into the members area. There it goes. So this is our club information page. There's a lot of really good information on this page, really useful for both the club and members of the public. So you can see here that we show our current president. We show the area that president, the area that the club belongs to, and the area governor that for the area. We can see the total count of our members, 22 active and 1 honorary. We can see our meeting time and our location. Scrolling down here, we can see our club name and our club short name. The club name is displayed elsewhere on the website. This is an internal name for both you and your district. We have our type of club, which we can't edit, but we do support both Rotary and Rotaract clubs for integration services. We have the date that the club was chartered, the club motto, the club greeting, contact information like your mailing address, website, email, phone, and fax, and our meeting information. So how frequently you guys meet, in the date and time, the location, the address. If you have any very specific meeting comments, these will also be integrated with Rotary International. Locally for Club Runner, if you have a special meeting URL for virtual meetings like Teams or Zoom or Skype or what have you, you can store a permanent URL in your meeting URL. And this is available for all of the members of the club and members of the district if they're signed in. And we have a couple other settings here related to not showing members' photos. The most important part to take away from this page is the majority of this information on this page is synced with Rotary International. Things like your meeting schedule, your mailing address, website, email, phone, and fax will all be sent and updated whenever you update this information at Rotary International. For any reason, if you believe your club's Rotary ID is incorrect, you can reach out to our team and we're happy to update that. But the club ID is required and it does have to be set to a valid club ID. The club ID is what lets the Rotary International integration with a lot of other things work. So for any reason, if you think your club ID is wrong, or for example, if you're having a problem getting the Rotary International integration service enabled, contacting our team is usually the quickest way to do it, because we can check directly at Rotary, verify that your club and district information is all correct, and if anything is out of sync on our end, get it up to date. The last thing I just want to do, because I got off track a little bit, is I just want to talk about the change status. I touched on it really quickly earlier, but I did want to show a little bit more. So let's go ahead. We're back in our members list. We're going to hit change status. So let me go ahead and zoom this in just a little bit more. On the change status page, your options that are presented to you will always be based on the type of membership. So Mason here was an active member, so we have 3 options available to us. We have terminating the membership, changing the membership status, and editing the active type. If we terminate the member, I think that should be really clear. We are removing them from the club. So if we click on terminate membership, it will take us to the next screen. And from here, we can list a date of termination. We have our termination reasons, and we can choose to either report it to Rotary or not. The only one that I'll really call out special attention to here is if you decide to use the duplicate record on Club Runner, it no longer requires a termination date. It will not report it to Rotary International. Effectively, you are using this page to mark a record in Club Runner as a duplicate. But if you choose any of the other options, classification, business transfer, we will request the date of termination and you will have the option to report it to Rotary. Just like before, because this club, the club that I'm demoing on here is our production club, this option does not matter and it does default as off because it is not on. The integration services are not on. I'm going to go ahead and hit back and take us back to our other options. Let's go ahead and take a look at the change member status for active to honorary. If this member was honorary, we would have the reverse option available. We'd be able to change them from honorary to active. When you are changing a member from an active membership to an honorary membership, they are effectively rejoining your club, which is why we have a date of membership change here. And when you change this and report it to Rotary International, it should automatically move them over to honorary, but they will have a new date start. As an example, let's say you incorrectly change someone from active to honorary. It happens from time to time. Typically, for the purposes of Rotary's correction, you'll want to put the member back to active in Club Runner, make sure that that change goes through at Rotary, and then contact Rotary's data corrections team, and they can help you guys get that sorted out. And we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of our webinar. So just before we decide to jump into the Rotary International integration, I want to show off some features in Club Runner that allows clubs to collect extra data, and I also want to talk about the custom membership types. So in addition to I'm going to head back to the membership list just so we can talk about this a little bit. In addition to the active corporate and active satellite membership types, Club Runner does offer additional custom active types. So if your club has multiple satellite clubs, or you have different categories or classes of membership for billing purposes, Club Runner, our team can create custom membership types, which will allow you to use the change status option. So I'm going to go into Jimmy here. You can edit the active membership type, and then you can move him from actives to any of the other custom active types. None of these changes trigger any integration changes since these are all local changes. These are Club Runner specific data types that we're interacting with. All of these membership types for the purposes of integration are active. There's just some extra classification. So, if this was a corporate member and not a regular active member, I can choose that. I'll go ahead and hit save. And when we come back here, we can see that they are now an active corporate member. And if we were to go check any of our Rotary International integration logs, we would see those changes being processed. Okay. Moving right along. So I guess just to reinforce that, if your club is looking for custom membership types for billing or any other reasons, please reach out to the support team and we'll be happy to help you and explain all of the options available to you. Moving along, let's talk about custom fields. So in Club Runner, for standard and administrative club subscribers, we have the custom member fields option. Each club gets a total of 30 overall fields. There are 3 types of fields, and you can have up to 10 of each field. So you have a character field. This lets you capture any custom text. Think of it as just a big box to capture a whole lot of text in. We have a date option, and then we have a flag or a true false option. Custom fields are great for letting members record additional information about themselves or share more details with the club. The really nice thing is the custom fields can be edited by members. This is also in some cases a bad thing. So for example, if you're storing somewhat sensitive information, or if there's information that you do need to store that you don't want the member to be added, we would talk about adding and using designations instead. We're not going to talk about that too much today, but effectively designations are staff custom fields in addition to tracking Rotary sponsorship rewards isn't the right. Things like Bequest Society, Paul Harris Fellow, benefactors, things like that, our designation system also tracks, but it can also be really useful for fields that members need to be able to see and have access to, but not edit. So let's add each one of these custom fields. Let's go back to our member profile and see where that is. And then we're going to dive right into Rotary International integration. So let's choose a date field. What is the date of, I don't know a good date here. Pet's birthday. This Rotary Club likes to celebrate pets' birthdays. So I'm going to go ahead and add that there. I'm going to go ahead and add another field. Tell us about your pets. We'll make that a character field. And then lastly, we will have a flag field. This is true, false. Do you have any pets? So we've added one of each type. We've added a date field, we've added a character field, and we've added a true false field. Let's go ahead and head back to our profile. I can scroll down on this page here, and you can see that the custom fields are now there. We'll go ahead and edit the profile. Scrolling down onto the profile here, we will come into the custom field. So for our pet's birthday, we will go ahead and pick the appropriate date, but it is just our standard calendar date picker. You have to find the appropriate time and date. And I do have 4 cats, and I do have pets. So those are the bits of information that I'm going to go ahead and add into our custom fields here and hit save. Every single member of the club will have access to these custom fields, and they're reportable through our download member data and our eDirectory reports. All right, let's move right along to Rotary International integration, the big topic. So first and foremost, I want to say that Rotary International integration is available to all of our Rotary clubs. So that does include Rotaract clubs. Both Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs are eligible to use Rotary International integration and sign up with Club Runner. If your district's online, that's fantastic. If your district's online as a Rotary club or a Rotaract club and they have you in your Club Runner system, you'll have access to all your integration services. But yes, it is available for Rotaract clubs as well. That is new as of the end of last year. We are having a lot of success with both our districts and our Rotaract club subscribers. So if you guys know a Rotaract club who's struggling with their integration services, definitely give Club Runner a recommendation. So how does the Rotary International integration work? Well, it's a 2-step process. The first step is to go to My Rotary as a club officer and review your current interface settings. So I do have a document about that, and we're going to go ahead and scroll through that. But the most important thing is it is a one-time opt-in. So for most of our clubs who are already actively using Club Runner, especially if you've been around for a while, your integration services are probably already on, though I do very strongly recommend that clubs every year go check your integration services, check your privacy settings, make sure the club is happy with them. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but that is the first step, is to go to myrotary.org and make those changes. How do you make those changes, you ask? That's a fantastic question. I happen to have a great guide here from Rotary International that takes you through each step at My Rotary to make those changes. Now, as a last comment here, for some reason, if you or your club officers are having a problem with My Rotary and making those changes, you can contact our team. We do have some backup methods for limited cases that will let you opt in without using My Rotary, but My Rotary should be your first go-to, and only if you're having a problem, fall back to those backup forms. But we do have backup forms in the case that you have a club or member, like a member of the club who's just struggling. So once again, this is only available to club officers. My understanding is for sure the club's president, secretary, treasurer, and executive secretary of the current year should have access to these tools. I believe some other club officers might as well, but I'm less confident about that. So for absolute sure, president, secretary, treasurer, and the executive secretary can come into My Rotary and manage these changes. So if you were going to My Rotary, you're going to go to the My Rotary website. You're going to sign in, and then you're going to select your club. On the club management system, you are going to come find that section and click Edit. From the Edit Club Management screen, you're going to select Add Vendor. From the drop-down box, you are going to select your appropriate vendor. In this case, it will be Club Runner. We do strongly recommend the view and edit access. This allows Club Runner to not only view data that Rotary has available to us, but also update it. If you're uncomfortable for any reason with the Club Runner integration service making updates to your data at Rotary, you can set view only access. It does limit some of the functionality of the integration service, but it will still work in a read-only mode. As a second note, you are only allowed to have one primary vendor that is allowed to both view and update your data. So for some reason, if you have another vendor in there, you will first have to remove that and then add Club Runner instead. So you'll choose your vendor, you'll select the appropriate access level, whatever the club's choice is. Then you will check your checkbox, read the agreement, and agree to the terms and conditions. Once your vendor is in this screenshot here, we have Club Runner. Within 24 hours, usually a lot less, the integration service here will tick on, and you'll be able to switch on and check on your integration service. If for any reason, after 24 hours, this screen does not light up like this, it typically indicates that something has gone sideways. Either the club ID is wrong, that's the most common case. There's something wrong with your club ID, or, and I mean, really that is the most pressing one. Either the most likely is that the club ID is wrong or the opt-in hasn't happened at Rotary. But again, for any reason, if you have been on the screen for more than 24 hours, you've made those changes at My Rotary, contact our team. We will investigate, get to the bottom of the matter, and get you back up and running again. So this is our development environment. We're gonna pretend I press this switch and we're gonna go onto the full page here. I'm gonna go ahead and close that tab. I don't need it anymore. So now we can see that the Rotary International Integration Service is enabled. We can see that it's in the read and update status, and we do tell you that very straightforwardly. Club Runner can read and update Rotary International's database for your club. And if we come down here, we have some privacy options. So right now, the allow name is absolutely, you have to send it. And as a special note, when you are creating new members, we also have to send all of the members' information as part of that basically everything that you provide us on the add member page is sent to Rotary to validate and create the user. After that, though, any of these settings that are turned off will be respected, with the exception of allow name. We always have to pass the name as part of the request. It's non-negotiable. But that does mean if, for example, your club is uncomfortable with your birthday information being shared with Rotary International, or cell phones or emails or faxes, you can turn these flags off. It prevents the exchange of data going forward. So if you already have birthdays that have been entered in Club Runner and the allow option is already on, that data more than likely has been sent to Rotary. But if you were to turn it off, it will just prevent new data from going up. Same thing is if this was turned off. For example, if it was in the off status and I was updating it and hitting update privacy, that just doesn't send the birthday data to Rotary. It just makes it so that we can send birthday data to Rotary. So the next time a member's profile is updated and they change their birthday, that information will go to Rotary. And we also have some tools that we're going to talk about in a minute that'll let us sync and send that information. So the most important thing to remember about the Rotary International integration at this time is that it is automatic in one direction. When your club or district, whoever's working on your website or membership information, makes changes that are supported, they will automatically be sent up to Rotary International. So this means if, like earlier, when I was updating my member's name or email and adding those things, those are all going to go up to Rotary automatically. Now, for some reason, if a member updates My Rotary directly, those changes don't automatically come back down to Club Runner right now, but we do provide you a lot of tools to sync those changes. And in the cases that we can't, it should be pretty easy to repeat them. So I want to go over all the different types of changes, and then we are actually going to dive in a little bit more here. These are all the supported changes. You can add new members, you can terminate members, and you can change their statuses, and it's active to honorary, honorary to active. Any membership updates related to the name, first name, last name, middle name, suffix, and prefix, their home and work addresses, their home and work cell phones and emails, their gender, their sponsor, the birthday. Of course, for some of those options, you do have opt-out, like for the example, the birthday information. We also track 8 positions for club officers. Rotary only tracks 8 positions per year. It doesn't mean that your club or district might not have more officers, just that these are the only ones that Rotary tracks explicitly. Those positions are the president, the secretary, the treasurer, the executive secretary / executive director, the membership chair, the foundation chair, Oh, I said I have membership share in your choice. The service project share and the public image share. Most importantly, out of this list of positions, only one position is allowed to be held by a non-member of your club, and that is the executive secretary / executive director. For integration purposes, they still need a Rotary ID, but after they have their Rotary ID in Club Runner, all updates for their profile, even if they are another user, will be supported. And it will also support the sync. So when you send them as your executive officer to Rotary International, that part is also supported. Lastly, for club information, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, your meeting time and address, all your contact information, your club website, your club phone number, fax, email, the whole 9 yards. All right, continuing to move on, we have basically, we're going to talk more in depth about our integration and privacy tools. So we showed off this club privacy. And the reason I initially suggested that the clubs keep most of these options on is that as long as the club opts into these settings, members can opt out. But if the club makes any choice to opt out of a value, like, for example, cell phones, the member can't override that choice in Club Runner. Nothing, of course, stops them from going to My Rotary and manually updating it, but they won't be able to override that choice. So just to show off more of the privacy settings, I'm going to switch back to our production account, and I'm going to switch to our privacy tab. Scrolling past the Club Runner privacy tab, which we'll come back to in just a quick minute because I do want to touch on it, the Rotary International integration privacy. So here you can see that this is our live club. You can see that all of these values are club opted out, and that is just because this club doesn't have integration enabled. They're all set to no. But if it was enabled, the individual member can also override any of the choices that the club has opted into. So if the member is uncomfortable with their birthday being shared, but the club in general isn't, you could come into this member's individual profile, opt them out of birthday updates, and record their information. Same thing for any of the other values. Just related to integration privacy, I really quickly want to touch on our Club Runner privacy flags. So very similar to the RI integration privacy, individual members have their own privacy flags. These privacy flags tie into Club Runner's mobile directories and live directories for the club and district websites and the member searches that are powered by them. So for example, if you are uncomfortable with members of your district knowing your home address, home phone, or any of these other data points, you can come into your profile, edit and update them, and the next time that someone looks at those screens or tries to pull up that data, it should be reflective of it live. In addition to your district privacy settings, we also have the club privacy settings. The club privacy settings has at least one extra value, which is you're allowed to expose whether or not you want people to know your birthday and month. But otherwise, the privacy settings at the club are very similar to the district. The exception here is that members who have access level 50 or better can view the full profile and do bypass these privacy settings, at least in the context of looking at the member profile, but through the member search and all other normal interfaces that are basically flagged as public interfaces, their information will be displayed based on their privacy settings. Let's move, so we talked about our privacy. Let's start talking about some of our tools for the Rotary International Integration Service. The first one that I actually want to start with is our membership compare and synchronize, which I hope is this page. It is. Fantastic. Let me close these other tabs just a little bit. So this is our compare and synchronize page for Club Runner. I'm just going to hit refresh now to get this page to refresh to make sure that if we have any updates or changes. And if we come in here, we can see a lot of really useful information. This first block, though, is the most important, like one of the more important blocks. For all of these members, their first name, their last name, their Rotary ID, and their membership type match between Club Runner and Rotary International, which means that any of the changes happening in Club Runner should, for the most part, be going up to Rotary International without any problems. That might not always be the case, but 99% of the time it should be. If we scroll down this page a little bit further, we will see that we have some additional sections. Effectively, for everybody here, you should have one list, members in sync. Anytime you have members that are not in sync, so we have members missing in Rotary, a member name mismatch, or members missing in Club Runner, we should pause for a moment, figure out how these users got into this state, and take action to fix them. So let's touch on the tools really quick, and then let's touch on how we can fix these problems that are in front of us. So I can see that right now, members missing in RI or at Rotary, there are two, Sergeant Spring and Morgan Weston. I don't know why they're not there. I just know that they're not there. Looking down at the Club Runner members missing in Club Runner section. So these are members that are at Rotary, but missing from Club Runner. Right away, I think everybody's little red alert should be going off, because you can see that Sergeant Spring and Sergeant Spring, that's probably the same person. So instead of trying to add the member to Rotary or adding the member to Club Runner, all I have to do in this case is take the member's Rotary ID and edit their profile. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Sergeant Spring's name here. This is going to take me directly into his profile. I'm going to click the Rotary tab. I am going to click edit. I'm going to drop the member's Rotary ID into his profile. Save. I'm going to click the RI integration option, and I'm going to click compare and synchronize once again. Coming back to this page with that change made, we can see that Sergeant Spring has disappeared from our lists. His problem is solved. The only issue is that he didn't have his Rotary ID. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe the integration service was off. Maybe there was a problem getting it back into Club Runner. It should be a pretty rare event, but it's also a very, very quick and simple fix to get done. Now, our next member here is Morgan Weston. And I don't know why he's not in Club Runner, or he's not at Rotary rather. But before I do this, I just want to make sure I don't have another Morgan Weston in my members in sync list. Sometimes you could have two records with the same name. One is missing an ID and one isn't. In this case, that is not true. I only have one member missing, and it is just Morgan here, and he is not in our members in sync list. So in this case, I can hit add member to RI. It's going to ask me, are you sure? I'm going to hit OK. Basically, what this is going to do is it's going to fire off the add new member request the exact same way we would do it normally, with the exception that we're not sending the email. We're just reporting that data to Rotary International. And within a minute or two, hopefully, Morgan should get in there. And he did. So if I search Morgan, there they are. Morgan is now active. They have received a brand new Rotary International ID, and they are now good to go in Club Runner because they are in sync. So we have now fixed all of the problems that we have with our members list, and we have a clean bill of health, which is fantastic. We also have a really great tool for checking your club officers. This is the Executive Compare and Synchronize. Executive Compare and Synchronize works just like the Member Compare and Synchronize, which I need to cover one more thing in, and I apologize that I'm jumping slightly. But the Executive Compare and Synchronize allows us to push or pull club and officer information between Rotary and Club Runner. So for example here, you can see that we have two problems with our current executive list. We have Vincent Valentine, which is the member that I'm logged into. They are listed as Rotary International as the treasurer, but they are missing in Club Runner. And Jane here is also, it has the exact opposite problem. Rather, they are in as the membership chair, but they are not in at Rotary International as the membership chair. So if I want to, I can check this checkbox up at the top. It will check all of the fields on this page, and the data will go in the direction of the arrows. So in this case, Vincent Valentine will be pulled from Rotary International and populated into Club Runner as the club's treasurer. Jane Doe will be sent from Club Runner to Rotary as the club's membership chair. If Jane was incorrect and she shouldn't be that, I can flip the direction of the arrow, and instead of sending data to Rotary, we will also pull this position down from Rotary, effectively removing Jane from this position. The same can be true for Vincent. So if the Club Runner data was, if the treasurer was incorrect at Rotary, we can push it up or we can pull it down, and just like the other side, we can push or pull. Let's go ahead and synchronize those selected positions. Oh, very interesting. Apparently, the membership chair for Rotary did not go through. Apparently, their name is very mismatched right now, so something is wrong with that member record. I'm really confused about that. I'm more confused because they didn't show up in our compare and sync that there was a problem. So that's a little interesting. If for some reason you guys run into this issue, please reach out to our team and I'll be more than happy to investigate. This is our development environment, so there could be something a little bit more going on here. Something I did not show off from the compare and synchronize page is that you can compare individual members. And this is the way, for example, I know that Don here, Donald Cheadles, he updated some information at Rotary. I don't know what information is. He just said, hey, I logged into my Rotary. I updated some stuff. Can you make sure Club Runner has it? So I can come into our compare and sync screen here. I will click on Don's compare link. And what this is going to do is it's going to run a direct member comparison for Don based on his Club Runner in data in Club Runner versus his data at Rotary International. So in this case, we can see that there is one piece of information that is not at Rotary right now, and it is the member's primary email address. So I will go ahead and push that up to Rotary International. Of course, if that email was wrong, I could pull down the fact that he shouldn't have an email address, and I could also push and pull any of his other information that is out of date. You can, anytime that you guys do move something in to make a change, you'll usually see this scheduled for integration. I assure you, it usually does not take 24 hours. In fact, if I refresh the screen, I would be very surprised to see that. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't already up there. I am pretty surprised. So let's take a look at our next sections. So now we've seen how we can push and pull information. We've talked about the executive compare and sync and other tools. Let's take a look at how we deal with like the changelog in Club Runner. So we are going to head to our members update archive here. I'm going to close some of these other tabs because I shouldn't need them again. I may regret that decision, but we'll find out here. So this is the RI member integration archive. Effectively, this is a listing of every single member update that has happened in Club Runner, specific to members and its status. So you guys can see here that there's been a number of updates that have been going on today, terminations, new members. You can see the timeline events. You can see the member that is performing them. And if we click on details, we can get some extra information as well. So in this case, we can see very straightforwardly, Don's email didn't go over to Rotary International. Something's wrong with his email address. It seems like the email is already in at Rotary International, and Rotary does limit email addresses to absolute uniqueness. Every individual must have their own email address. There are no ifs, ands, or buts on this. So because of that, we can't send this email up. Now, in this case, within 24 hours of this issue happening, assuming we haven't received any other updates, we will get an integration notice. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, but effectively you get an email with some information and you can action them. In addition to the member updates archive, on the members updates archive, you can get a list of all your members, past, present, past and future, or past and present rather, including deleted member records. You'll be able to look at their Rotary ID and see of any of the information, in addition to all the individual members that are associated with the account. You can look at all the additional integration types very specifically. So if you only wanted to see your new members from a very specific time period, for example, I only want to know about new members from January 1st to January 30th, I can get a report on that. And if I hit show, it'll show me all the new members that I added. Or if there weren't any changes during this period of time, we would get no new members. In addition to the members updates archive, we also have the club updates archive. This is specific to club information. So if you update your meeting information, your mailing address, etc., those changes will be stored here instead of on the members updates archive because they are specific to the club's information and not an individual member. Just like the member update archive, though, we can see all of the things that were done, including the information that was passed over to Rotary and the changes that happened. So let's come back to our members update archive here and let's talk about these integration emails. So I've now, we've performed an update in Club Runner. It's going to trigger an error. So what happens is the integration service every day is checking and saying, hey, has this club gotten an email recently? Have they had an error recently? If they have they gotten an email recently? Basically, we will do our best to only send one email every 7 days. There are some edge conditions where you can get 2 inside of a week, but in most cases, you should only receive 1 a week. You will continue to receive that integration email and any of its related errors until they are all clear or until there have been no errors for 90 days. So the first time you get that email, you're going to get a report that basically says that Don's email was attempted to change. We tried to make a change. It failed. Here's the error message. Please be aware of this. Effectively saying that the Club Runner integration service was unable to make this change on your behalf. You effectively now need to decide whether or not you need to make this change at Rotary. So if you have something like a member's email or mailing address, you can go to My Rotary. You can manually update it. Of course, you can try and compare and sync and push it again to Rotary. Maybe the issue has been resolved. But in the worst case scenario, you may have to go to My Rotary to perform some updates. The most common case that we get that is hard for our team to solve directly is a restriction from membership. So members are only allowed to be active in one club at a time. And a really great example that we like to use for a potential problem is transferring a new member to your club who has not yet been terminated from their last club. So in the example, let's say we transferred Don into this club, we added them as a new member, or Morgan here, but they were already active at some other club, despite the fact that they've left the club and they should be terminated. So in that case, you're going to get an error in your updates archive here. It's going to say you can't add this member. Member has 1 or more active positions for the same time period. What next? Well, Club Runner really can't do anything because we're bumping up against Rotary's requirements with their membership. What we can do, though, is instruct you to contact Rotary's data corrections team. So in a case where you're trying to add a member, but they still have their membership from their last club, you will send an email. A club officer will send an email to data@rotary.org with the member's name, Rotary ID, and basically, hey, this member is trying to transfer into our club. Can you help us out with that? Rotary has a whole little process that they go through where they reach out to the club that currently has the member, and they give them a time frame and they say, hey, is there any reason you can't release this member from your roles? They want to transfer to a new club. If the club doesn't answer, or they answer in a positive way, the member will be moved out of the original club and into your club. And yeah. Now, I do know that there are some limited cases where a member isn't eligible to transfer. I don't know the criteria for that on Rotary's side, but I'm very sure if you run into that situation, the data corrections team will let you know that directly and if there's any way to resolve it to move forward. But I would say that is probably the most common error, in addition to some of the other email-related errors. So the last tool that I would like to show you guys is our pseudo-anonymization tool. I'm actually going to go back to our production club to talk about this. So more and more, the world is continuing to evolve and rules and regulations are changing everywhere. Rotary, much like Club Runner, respects GDPR in all intents and purposes to the best of our ability. And one of the tools that we've introduced to help deal with GDPR related matters is a pseudo-anonymization tool. If you have an ex-member, for example, who has said, hey, I don't want my information stored in your account anymore. But obviously, you as a club want to keep your financial bills, or you want to keep a record of attendance, or you just want to make sure the gaps, like your membership history in Club Runner is really good. You can use the pseudo-anonymization tool. So I'm going to look for users in the last 30 days. Oh, no. Oh, no. Why am I not getting users? I know I terminated someone recently. What this tool should do is it should look for terminated members, terminated in whatever time period you're asking for. Let me see if I can get anybody here. Nope, either something's wrong with this club or something's wrong with the report. However, apologies for that. The more important part about this tool is that it scrambles the member record to the best of its ability. And what that the important part of that is it leaves a lot of data intact in Club Runner. You'll still have a history of that member's time in the account. You'll still have all their attendance data. Their related dues and billing information will be there. Basically, this is a really nice way to clean up your membership records. And if you know you have members who've been gone for a long period of time and you're thinking, hey, do I really want to keep holding on to their information? This is another great way to clean out those records, anonymize them so that you can have a history of membership in the club without also having the liability of holding that data for those individuals. I think probably the most common case that we see about this is sometimes clubs will email their inactive members, and occasionally they're like, hey, get me out of your data. This is a great tool to do that, and I would really suggest it. If you guys run into any problems with any of the tools or anything that we've been talking about tonight, I would encourage you guys to reach out to us and let us know. So that completes the majority of our Rotary International Integration and Advanced Membership webinar. I'm sure we have some really great questions from the Q&A and chat. So Robin, what do you got for me?
Absolutely. Perfect. Excuse me. So the first question that we have from Rita Gale asks, why do we have an option to report member to RI or not? I thought all new members should be reported to RI. How are members treated differently if not reported to RI? Does this mean that the dues are different as in corporate?
That's a really great question with a whole lot of exposition to get into. So what are reasons you wouldn't want to report a member to Rotary? The most common case that I typically run into is for some reason you don't want to use the compare and synchronize to pull a member record in, or you are putting the member's information into Club Runner ahead of time. Rotary does require that member additions be today or 30 days in the past. Rotary doesn't accept future dated additions. So you know that there's a member joining on Monday, you could technically put them in on Friday, choose not to report that to Rotary, and then use the RI integration tools to push them up to Rotary. Alternatively, you could just be having to re-add the member for some reason. I don't know why. And again, you don't want to come to the RI integration, compare and synchronize and just add them. But if you were repeating a change that already happened at Rotary, that would be a really good chance to choose not to report it. Because basically the reason you typically choose not to report it is so that it doesn't go to Rotary and doesn't trigger an integration error, right? If Bob was already in at Rotary and we add Bob in Club Runner and send that request to Rotary, the Rotary integration service is going to be like, well, we already have a Bob in your club. What are you doing? That is typically the most common case. I will note that supporting integration is for that request. So once the member is in the club, any future changes to that member record will still trigger the integration services. So again, putting Bob in on Friday, you might get a couple Rotary integration updates that fail because Bob doesn't have a Rotary ID yet. He's not actually a member of your club. But that's the most typical reason that I can think of. We want to make sure you guys have control of your data, right? If you don't want to report this for Rotary for some reason, I don't know the reason, we would rather have that option available to you. That way you don't have to go to the settings, turn off the integration service, come back to the add member form, add the member, return. Like it's just basically to also help reduce a lot of doubling up on work. Oh no, Robin, we lost your microphone.
I'm gonna have to look into this tomorrow. I might have to get a new one. Right, okay. Sorry. So I think so we've had a couple people actually ask this question, which was where did it go? Sorry.
Is this Jody's question?
No, actually, I forgot the question. So we'll actually jump to Jody. Great question from Jody Shelley, which is it possible to sync all clubs in a district at once to RI, or does each club have to be done individually?
So as of this moment, it is a manual process. So unfortunately, any Rotary integration checks is a one-by-one, member-by-member process. So if you, at the district level, if you go to your club and you run the compare and synchronize, what you've done is run a comparison on Club Runner to Rotary. We haven't like imported anything or done anything yet. We're just doing a check. So if, for example, members were terminated, members were added, when you use the compare and sync, you can use the tools there to add the members or change the members. But right now, this is a problem that we're very aware of and actively working towards resolving. I can't share any more information today, but I would not be surprised if in the next couple weeks we have some more information on that front for you guys. So nothing turned up in the webinar that I can talk about that got shown. So unfortunately, I can't pull back the curtain anymore. But I guess I really want to reaffirm that like we're very cognizant of how much extra work that can be for our Rotary clubs and districts, and we are working towards a solution for it.
Perfect. Another question a couple of people actually had was that they looked in their navigation menu and that they realized that they don't actually have the RI integration right between the organization attended. It's not there.
Oh, that is very odd. As far as I know, all of our customer accounts should have that Rotary International integration tab, assuming you're using your club's website. Now, if you are logging into your district's website, that menu item is going to be under the For Clubs tab, not the RI integration tab. But for anyone, if you guys are having an issue, I know Robin and I will more than likely end up reaching out to you guys to help you figure out what that's going. But if you urgently need assistance with that, like today, if you go over to clubrunnersupport.com, put in a support ticket, or if you want to send an email to Zach, Z-A-C-H, at clubrunnersupport.com and tell me what's wrong with your account, I will get back to you. That's urgently. Otherwise, Robin and I will absolutely be reaching out to any of the customers that had that question directly. So yeah, if you need it, if you need it today, contact us. Otherwise, we will reach out to you and work on that.
Perfect. Thanks. Monique Smith has a question. So she said that she had terminated a member, but they're still showing up as active in RI. And they also mentioned that they've already completed a compare and sync.
So when you run, I think I might have, no, I haven't. So when you run this compare and synchronize, if you are still seeing a member that is terminated at Rotary, like the member is terminated at Rotary, but not in, sorry, they're terminated in Club Runner, but not at Rotary International. My immediate thought is, did you give them a future termination date? So typically that is the one disconnect that we have with Club Runner, is that if you terminate a member in Club Runner, it is immediate in Club Runner's end, but it is future dated at Rotary. So again, if you put it out, like if you said they're terminated this Friday, they're going to continue to show on Rotary's rolls until that date passes. I've even seen some cases where if you terminate a member like today, they will stay on Rotary's rolls until midnight rolls over, and you'll continue to see that compare and sync issue. So for some reason, if it's still having a problem, I suspect Robin or I will reach out to you. If it's terribly urgent for you, I don't like telling people to email us, but if it's like, I need this fixed yesterday, email us. Otherwise, we will absolutely reach out to you to help you out with that issue.
Perfect. Thanks. So this is a great question from Gary Kahn. It's example from the club information page. He asks, the example of club information displayed in the webinar included a meeting URL for the club. We don't seem to have that unless it's the same thing as the club website address.
So no, it is not the same thing. The meeting URL, actually, you guys will see here, it doesn't show on this account. This is an account in our demo website, but if you do edit your meeting information, you'll get this nice little pop-up. You can set the day, the time, the information, and if your club meets online, check this nice little checkbox, and you will get the meeting URL and the private details. The private details show up to logged in members of your club and district, and we do try and reaffirm that for you right here in this nice little pop-up or nice little message. So I'll go ahead and hit save. And as soon as I do, you will see that information also gets included in the club information. I see a good question from David W. I'm not going to try and pronounce that last name, so I just don't want to embarrass myself even more than normal. David is mentioning that it's extremely important for clubs to input their president-elect and president nominee. Unfortunately, you are correct. So David continues, but the Rotary doesn't track the president-elect and they don't track the president nominee. That is absolutely correct. So Rotary only tracks the club officers for the current and future years. They do not track the nominated members at the club level. I'm fairly certain they do it at the district level, but I might be wrong about that, but I know for sure they don't at the club level. So if, for example, your president-elect for the future year is, let's just say it's Monica for the purposes of this, we should go to the next year organization chart and we should enter Monica as the president for that year. So if I come back I'm going to go ahead and hit carry over here. What this did is it duplicated all of the positions to the next year. If I had any committees, it also duplicated them. And here I can now set Monica, who is going to be the president here. And if we go one more year into the future, I did another carryover. We can set our third year president, the one who's 3 years out. And until these time and dates pass, so until it's 2024-25, Clarissa is not going to be the president. But hopefully, like, I know that doesn't directly help your problem of Rotary doesn't track it, but it also does. And that's actually a really great point. I usually try and really reaffirm that the president-elect is not a tracked position at Rotary. It is the president of that organization year. So we really got to make sure that we put those officers in. And by reporting those officers, they will go up to Rotary International and they will have a time period. So Monica is listed for 23-24 and Clarissa here would be listed for 24-25.
Perfect. Great.
Did we have any more questions we wanted to tackle?
Yeah, so two just kind of quickly came in. So Beverly, I'm going to reach out to you. That's something. It's she had a question about if someone has they have a corporate, they add someone as a corporate account, but they have two people that also would act as alternate for meetings. I'm just gonna have to reach out to you, Beverly, after the fact, and I'll.
That's a little complicated to get in. Yeah, it's a little complicated to get into in the webinar, especially since we're not talking too much about attendance. There's some nuance there, but Robin will handle that just great.
Exactly. I'll reach out to you.
All right.
Just two quick questions. So Suzanne Victoria asked, how are the permissions granted within Club Runner? Are they manual set up, or do they get automatically granted if someone's entered as an executive?
That is a fantastic question. So at the club level, so we're currently looking at the club level account. Permissions, there aren't any automatic permissions whatsoever. The club 100% manually manages their permissions. So even though Clarissa in 3 years will be the president of the club, but we don't automatically assign her any access or anything else like that. We basically let the clubs manage their profiles themselves. With that said, there are some differences at the district level. So at the club level, it's 100% manual. For any reason, if for some reason you guys don't have administrators or anything like that, we run some active reports in the background to tell us, hey, these accounts don't have administrators, and we try and actively fix that for our customers. But for some reason, if you do find yourself in the position where you don't have a site administrator or the right people don't have permission, then no one in the club seems to be helping out with you, reach out to our team. We'll be more than happy to set those things up. But in most cases, the incoming officers, I would say general understanding, like lots of working with Club Runner over years, most of the time the club officers are pretty good about making sure the incoming officers have access. And in the few times they're not, our team is always there to help.
Fantastic. All right, I think we've got just one last question from Linda and Flynn. It's more, it's kind of goes back to the errors. So she mentions that a member has two different RI ID numbers, and so it's a mismatch for Club Runner RI rather. She says, I not integrated, not listed as active member. Do I need to contact Rotary, the data team, to sort this out?
More than likely, yes. It's a really short answer to that. So in almost all cases, if Rotary has an ID for a member, that is probably their ID. It's not always their right ID, but as an expansion to that, if you're ever in the situation where you do have a member who has two Rotary IDs, you're going to want to just reach out to the data corrections team and let them know, like, hey, I've got John Smith, I've got two Rotary IDs for him. I'm not sure which is the correct ID for him. Can you help me consolidate or tell me, where these are? I have seen occasionally people have a Rotary ID who they think that it's their Rotary ID, but it is not their Rotary ID. But a good way to kind of help confirm that is if you do use the transfer member search in Club Runner. Actually, I can transfer new active member here. Oh, I don't have it active on this account. Sorry, member list. The important thing is here, we could use this transfer member search. So if you have ID A and you have ID B, and you want to see if they're both the same user, come to the transfer member search, pop the Rotary ID in. I'm gonna come back to Bob here that I had earlier. But if I search for Bob here, and like if this is the ID that Bob gave me and I do a search and it comes back, what does it give us? Oh, look, this is our real Bob, right? This is the Bob we want. I'm just gonna go one number higher or lower rather, see which it's probably a member ID from one of the accounts that we've been setting up in the recent history. Oh, look, it's me. So this is another great way that you guys can compare. So if you have those two Rotary IDs, go put that information into the transfer member search and verify that you do have the right member's ID. If they both come back, in my case, as Robert Newhart or Bob Newhart and Robert Newhart, I would immediately reach out to Rotary, especially if everything like their location and other details matched. So yeah, I think we have one more.
Yes. Tina Pruitt asks, I'm not exactly sure the context, but she says, when you put the next year's officers in, does that update the website?
It absolutely does. So it won't update this club executives and directors widget because this is showing the current year information, but I'm going to manually navigate by typing in to the club executives page, and you can page year to year and you can see your upcoming executives. So you can see, so we can see that Rusty is the president in 2022-23. And oh, wait, I thought I set someone for 24-25. I'm not sure why that's happened. Oh, you know what? Because I set it in the other club, Tavistock, not in not in Kipling here. All right, thank you guys so very, very much for all your time and attention tonight. I just want to go over some closing items, just some useful resources. So probably the most important thing that you can take away from this webinar is our support website, clubrunnersupport.com. All the big information that is going on, announcements, our office being closed, problems with email services, announcements about training, they all go to clubrunnersupport.com. You can contact us to have, let us know about any problems you're running into. You can fill out this form and it'll come right into our help desk and we'll get on it. Members like myself and Robin will be working to answer your questions. There's all kinds of great articles. All of the information that we went over tonight in the Rotary International integration is also here. If for some reason you don't like typing in forms or looking on the support website, you can contact our team. We are available toll-free in North America at 855-621-2582. Option 1 for sales, option 2 for the support team, option 3 for any billing questions. Once again, that phone number is 855-621-2582. Lastly, you can reach out to our team via email. 24/7, 365, doesn't matter. Support, SUPPORT, at clubrunner.ca. Send us an email and we'll be happy to help you out with the best of our ability. And the last thing I'm just going to, the last two things that I'm going to mention here, in addition to clubrunnersupport.com, we also have the Club Runner community. This is a great place to get support, not only from our team, but to ask questions, get answers from other members of the Club Runner community. All you need to log in is your Club Runner login information. When you hit login, it'll ask you for your Club Runner login details. If you've never logged in before, it'll have you set up your profile for the community, and then you'll be able to move right along and start posting and joining into those discussions. Lastly, if you're looking for any other training items, please go to clubrunner.ca/training. All of our additional Club Runner training webinars are coming up. We still have many, many items still to go. Today was the Rotary International Integration and General Membership Management. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about e-commerce and finances, events and volunteer management, and moving into the weekend, more exciting things with my event runner, the website designer, and an in-depth dive. You guys can see my lovely face again with the Advanced Website Designer webinar. So thank you guys so very, very much for all of your time today. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we hope we were able to help and teach you guys a lot about Club Runner.
Everyone.